If we want to have a conversation about how to reduce our deficit, let's have that. We've been having that for the last 2 years. We just had an entire campaign about it. And by the way, the American people agreed with me.
Joining us now by phone, Mark Levin. Mark, thanks so much for being back with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Explain that to me. You write about your fury, and you're just so frustrated, you say, and you use the word tyranny.
That's right, because I'm not into imperial presidents who act imperial and speak imperial. And Obama forgets there's a Constitution. Yeah, he keeps telling us he won re-election. Congratulations. But guess what? The Constitution wasn't up for election. It's not up for a plebiscite or a referendum. He has to comply with it, too. He was sent back to Washington, but he's got a strict list of rules that he has to follow as president. So when he gets up there and he starts saying, if Congress doesn't do this, I'm going to do this unilaterally, it violates separation of powers a lot of the times. And this is a man who's been pushing the edge of the envelope as far as I'm concerned, whether it's the appointment clause, whether it's his unilateral action on immigration, whether it's his trashing the Commerce Clause and the tax clauses under Obamacare. Now they're talking about executive orders on the Second Amendment. They've issued regulations on the First Amendment attacking religious liberty. This notion that he might be able to lift the debt ceiling, unilaterally under the 14th Amendment. What the hell is this? He was elected president. Congratulations. This guy makes Richard Nixon look like a man who followed the law all the time. I think we have an imperial president. He sounds imperial. He's arrogant as hell. And so I'm furious about this. And I'm going to tell you why. We are a magnificent country. We don't need to be turned upside down. We don't need to run from crisis to crisis to crisis. He's bankrupting this country. He says, we've had a discussion about the debt. When did we have a discussion about the debt? We've had a debate about taxes. The man's never around to have a discussion about anything. So, yes, he causes me to be furious when I watch him and listen to him.
And I want to ask you, because I know obviously our viewers who are in the middle or on the left may not be liking what you're saying about President Obama. But there were a lot of complaints about President Bush being an imperial president. And there is a question about whether you give the chief executive too much power, whether you may be upset when the chief executive doesn't share your party label, and whether, the frustration this president is showing with the House Republicans, and even this talk about eliminating or curtailing the filibuster of the minority in the Senate. There's intransigence was built into our constitutional system for a reason.
Yes, it was. And they can talk about past presidents. We could talk about Lincoln. We can have a grand old time. We can go through all the past presidents. Nobody compares to this guy, though. I mean, this guy's having a hell of a time bankrupting the country, seizing power from Congress, threatening the courts, attacking successful people. Even when it came to bankruptcy in the automobile industry, rewriting the bankruptcy laws, people better wake up to this. This is not what Bush did or what anybody else did. This president's different, and in a very, very negative way. And the fact that a lot of people voted for him, that's extremely troubling. But the Constitution, as I said, that wasn't up for grabs. It's still not up for grabs.
You talk about the big lie, and you believe that the media, that they're assisting the president when it comes to this debate about guns and this, quote, big lie. What's the big lie?
There are a lot of big lies with this president. First of all, I call it the pretend media. They're really, what do the media do? When he talks about the debt ceiling in the 14th Amendment, do they say, well, Mr. President, that's actually never been done before, and that's not the point of it? Can you explain that, being the constitutional genius that you are? No. We have a debate on the debt ceiling. Can we actually talk about the debt? Oh, it's all Bush's fault. Okay. Guns. Let's talk about guns. There's not a single idea that is leaked out of this White House or being pushed on Capitol Hill that would prevented the horrific mass murder in Connecticut. They're dusting off all their wants and demands, and they're trying to pour it into this tragedy like they always do. We have a Second Amendment. The Second Amendment matters. And so it's not up for grabs with a Biden and Obama or the goofball governor of Maryland or all the rest of them. And yet you would think the Constitution's just another statute for these guys to play with. This is why I'm furious, because once we lose the Constitution, and we're losing it big, what's left? I mean, how do we keep these people in check?
How do you see this emerging with the public? Because it doesn't sound like he's got the votes in the House to pass sweeping gun control legislation, so he may, in fact, resort to executive action. George H.W. Bush issued an executive order on gun control when he was president. He wouldn't be the first to do it. What do you see how do you see the electorate reacting?
No, but he'll be the first to do whatever he does. And by the way, he's very proud of it. It's not a criticism. He wouldn't take it as a criticism. He thinks it's a wonderful thing. Look, all presidents have issued executive orders. The question is, what kind of executive order have they issued, and under what conditions have they issued it? The purpose of an executive order isn't to substitute the president's legislative agenda for Congress's legislative agenda. The purpose of an executive order, frankly, it's a ministerial act, an administrative act, where the president, who runs the executive branch, has to put a policy in place to comply with the law. This president is beating his chest, talking about using executive orders in lieu of congressional legislation. How's it going to play out? I don't know, but not very pretty.
Mark